Is the Halifax real estate market unstoppable? I'm starting to think it might be. Through the first 4 months of 2025, Halifax real estate is showing no signs of slowing down despite tariffs, trade war threats, changes of governments, and so much more. Halifax real estate keeps trucking along both from a sales price and a volume standpoint. So today I'm going to be diving into the year-to-date market stats here in the Halifax-Dartmouth region, focusing on residential sales. The importance of all this information is that we're now getting a large sample size post-COVID, and now we're starting to see that this real estate market, particularly in Halifax, which is bucking the trend in Canada, is very robust, it's very resilient, and can overcome major adversity. If you are new here, my name is Greg Pierce. I'm a local real estate agent and investor in the Halifax area of Nova Scotia on the east coast of Canada. If you want more information about buying, selling, or investing here in the Nova Scotia market, please reach out in my Calendly link below and book a one-on-one call. Or if you're local, I'd love to meet up at your favorite coffee shop and chat about everything that you need when it comes to real estate. So as promised, we're going to be diving into the year-to-date stats so far and figure out what the heck is going on here in this market. And make sure to stay until the end because I'm going to be dissecting the biggest challenge here in the Halifax market, and that is the sub $500,000 price point. So make sure you stay until the end, especially if you are a first-time home buyer. I've got some great tips that can help get your offer accepted the first time. All right, let's dive into it. And we're going to start off with the number that most people care about, and that is the average sale price. So we are up another 4.3% compared to this time last year. And we now sit at $597,323 for the average sale price. Again, this is in the Halifax-Dartmouth region, focusing on residential sales. So we know sales prices are continuing to chug along. That's 4 months in a row this year that we've seen increased sale prices compared to the same time last year. But what's happening with volume? The number of transactions is also up 1.8% compared to the same time last year, just under 1,500 sales so far year to date at 1,498. And this goes to show that we're also seeing high numbers of transactions and sales prices. So this is showing consumer confidence because there's still more people buying and selling real estate, and that people see the value in Halifax real estate. Despite all this turmoil that we're seeing both from an economic and political standpoint, the Halifax real estate market continues to chug along and just reiterates how safe of an investment real estate truly is. Now, the one caveat I have to that is the two other main stats that we look at when we're analyzing a real estate market, and that is days on market and months of inventory. So we're sitting at 39 days on market on average. That's only 1 day up from the same time last year. Yes, you could argue that buyers are being a little bit choosier when it comes to buying their home. However, that's still a very low average days on market. So I wouldn't get caught up on that with analysis paralysis. And then when we're looking at months of inventory, we're sitting at 2.1 months of inventory, which again is a slight tick upwards, which means it's kind of approaching the balanced market. But when you look at 2.1 months of inventory, that is still very, very, very solidified in the seller's market. And this further proves my point with some of these skewed stats is that it's really a tale of two stories when we're looking at the sub 500 and north of $500,000 price point, particularly when we get to that $600,000 or $650,000 price point. Days on market shoots way up, and the months of inventory is much, much higher up at that price point. But when you get lower, it is a different ball game altogether. And I'm going to dive into that at the end of this video. So make sure you stay until the end. Now, before I dive into the main storylines of what I've really extracted from these stats, please do me a huge favor, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification icon so you can be informed anytime I release new content like this. It really helps out my channel, and I appreciate you being here so much. So here's the number one storyline that jumps out to me when I'm looking at these market stats. I've already touched on it a little bit, but it just really continues to prove that Halifax is a safe haven when it comes to real estate. We continue to hold really strong price points. We're still seeing the ability to overcome major challenges when we look at the political landscape, we look at some of the economic turmoil, the fluctuating interest rates. Halifax seems to be a little bit adverse to that, and we don't seem to be as affected as some of the other main cities across Canada. And we are bucking the trend on a national average. Our market continues to climb while we see major markets like Toronto and Vancouver struggling to find their legs. So this is really a strong sign for me that we've got a robust economy. It's very diverse. It's not really focused on one or two industrial focuses like some of the other cities across Canada. We're talking about things like the auto industry and some of the other, cities like Hamilton that are so focused on steel and some of the precious metals. These are really going to be impacted heavily by the tariffs. where we're a little bit removed by that. We've got all three levels of government out here. We've got plenty of military, the expanded Irving Halifax shipbuilding contract. We've got tons of universities around. It's just a very robust economy. So I'm very, very confident in the Halifax market moving forward. I think there's a little bit of uncertainty when all of this stuff was originally happening. It's just doubling down on the fact that this is a great place to be buying and owning and holding on to real estate. This is something that you want to hang your hat on. And I'm really excited to see what's in store for Halifax in the coming years. So the other major headline is, let's dive into this dichotomy, which is that $500,000 price point that seems to kind of split the market in two. When we're looking at the lower end segment, this is crowded by first-time homebuyers, downsizers, and investors. So that we're seeing a lot of this happening where buyers are flooding into this segment. And anytime something is in that price point that's, to be honest, a half decent product, it's getting scooped up very, very quickly. So this is still a situation we're seeing a lot of competing offers, a lot of scenarios where buyers are continuing to write offers, but not necessarily winning or getting accepted offers. And I'm going to touch on that and give you some tips to get a leg up and try to get that accepted offer a little bit easier, maybe even on the first time. So stay tuned for that. On the flip side, when we get to the north side of 500,000, and as I alluded to, that kind of 600 to 650 and up seems to really be a completely different story. Now, obviously, location and desirability and really, really nice properties are going to be excluded from that. Those are going to be outliers, but we're talking about kind of standard neighborhoods, standard products. These are sitting a lot longer, so we're seeing higher days on market. Quite often, you can get these properties for below asking price, which is complete contradiction to what I just talked about. And these are really good opportunities. So if you're a buyer in this price point, you have a lot to choose from, but I caution you to not be too picky. Things can change quite quickly. Consumer confidence could come rushing back. We've got all these things like 30-year amortizations on new construction, 30-year amortizations for first-time homebuyers. Interest rates are the lowest they've been in the last year or so. So these are all factors that could really bring that lower end segment up to that 600, 650 segment quite quickly. If something happens with these tariffs and trade wars ending, I expect consumer confidence to really take off and see a really big rebound in the Canadian economy. I was talking to my colleague the other day about this. Keep in mind that a lot of the major decisions in terms of, interest rates and some of these incentives put through by the government, these are national decisions. And quite often it's going to be the Toronto and Vancouver type markets that have the most weight, that have the most say in how the government responds, or the Bank of Canada for that matter. But Halifax is kind of excluded from that. So there's a good chance our market could benefit from some of these changes that are meant to help the economy and help the housing market, despite our continued success and our ability to be robust and overcome adversity. So I guess to summarize, if you're a buyer in that higher price point segment, is absolutely pick and choose. Make sure you're seeing a lot of homes. Make sure you get a good idea of what value is out there at your budget. But don't wait too long. This market has proven to us time and time again that things can change on a dime and change quite quickly. So sometimes I see people, being a little bit complacent and being a little bit too picky. And then when they decide they actually do want to put an offer on that house they saw 4 weeks ago, it might not be sitting anymore. Just because it's been on market for 150 days doesn't mean it's going to be on market for another 150 days after that. So keep that in mind when you're in that segment. Now for the lower end, under $500,000, here's 3 really helpful tips that will help get your offer accepted more easily. Number 1, get a pre-approval. Do not go online and fill out some form at your local bank. That is not the same. Get pre-approval from a mortgage broker or mortgage specialist and try to submit your pre-approval letter in with your offer. It gives confidence to the sellers that you are actually walking the talk and you're able to put your money where your mouth is, literally. Number 2, try to match up everything you can to the best of your abilities to meet the sellers and what they want, i.e. closing date. If they want to close on a specific date because they're moving into another place, try to match that to the best of your ability if you have the ability to be flexible. I am not talking about waiving inspections and doing that craziness. You should never do that. But I am talking about trying to be flexible and be as lenient and make it as easy on the sellers as possible without compromising your due diligence and the information you need to make an informed decision. Lastly, you can write a personalized letter to the seller. Does this work all the time? No. Is it an opportunity to get a leg up that maybe you get accepted even though you're $5,000 less than the top offer? Absolutely. It can't hurt. It never hurts. And And if you can tug on the heartstrings of the seller, it might be a good opportunity for you to get an accepted offer. All right, so I hope you found this video helpful. Needless to say, things are going very smoothly here in the Halifax market. So you should have lots of confidence, whether you're a buyer or a seller, that things are really stable here. If you found this video helpful, please do me a huge favor, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification icon so you can be informed anytime I release new content. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.